Mo Hasan, he has that comeback mindset.
I think he does. We'll ask him all about his crazy college football career in this week's interview.
Plus, Zach Wilson, yes, I said it, Zach Wilson has been a difference maker for the Jets. But has anyone been paying attention? From Wondery, I'm Ryan Shazier.
And I'm Dave Damashek.
And this is Don't Call It a Comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.
Hey, Shek, I know Mo Hasan is here today, but before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about what went down this weekend.
Yeah, it was an extended weekend for us, wasn't it? Monday Night Football in SoFi in Los Angeles. Ryan Shazier and Dave Damashek and a lot of the Wondery gang were out there, and it was a divine time. Monday Night Football, Cowboys, as you know by now, outlasted the Chargers. Stephon Gilmore picked off Herbert on the Chargers' last drive. Shazier and I were there to behold, and boy, it was a star-studded affair. We got to glad hand with Ryan Russillo and beyond. Good times. Shazier, the question is, though, and I do want to get some conversation going with you about the experience we had at SoFi, but about the football game. Where are we on Justin Herbert as a football nation at this point? Clearly uber talented. Let's blame assess. That's what everybody does these days. Is it on Herbert, the talent level? Have we misread him, or does it have more to do with the surrounding characters, the coaching staff, and beyond?
Man, so yesterday was my first time seeing Justin Herbert in person. And it was kind of hard to see because we had such awesome seats that we were so close to the bench that you could not actually see the game. So, but it was still cool. It was still cool because you actually got to see him, tear it up out there. Man, he's a really, really talented player. And the thing that's so crazy about Justin is he's in all these close games. And we had a conversation with our producer earlier, and he was saying that Justin has played in, I'm assuming, 60 games, and almost 40 of them, 36 of them, have been one-score games, or less than one-score games. So half his career has been one-score games. And I don't know if that's helping or hurting him, but he's always in a situation where he has a fourth quarter game-winning drive or fourth quarter comeback type of situation. And right now he's second amongst the league right now in fourth quarter game-winning drives, but also he's thrown 13 interceptions in the fourth quarter with one-score games. So it's like he's been in so many close games in this moment. It's really hard to tell how good he is because you can't expect somebody to win every single close game.
Well, some of the parts is not as great as the parts are, and it's not just Justin Herbert I'm talking about. They're loaded. They have difference makers in a positive sense all over that roster. So I'm not one to say, hey, you got to fire the coach. That's not the solution to everything. But at this point, I think the Brandon Staley era is what it is. We are seeing the results, and as you say, every game is a nip and tuck affair. It can't be this tough every week for a roster that talented, and I'm looking at Staley more than I am the QB. All right, let's move along, shall we, and pivot out of football talk and adjacent football talk. You mentioned how close we were to the Chargers sideline. They were right in front of us there, and Cameron Dicker specifically, the former UT kicker, was there warming up, and Allison Johnson, Wondery producer, was along with us. She gave the upside down hook 'em horns at Dicker, and he looked over and saw it. Now, the game didn't come down to a Dicker kick. What if he had missed it? Would Allison feel guilty, or would she feel proud for the rest of her days as a Boomer Sooner faithful? I didn't know what to make of it. Shazier, how say you? Was that inappropriate to interact with an active player on Monday Night Football?
I don't think it's inappropriate because that's what a fan is. You're part of the game. You're part of the atmosphere. So I think it's a very fun time. And then the thing is, while she was doing the horns down, I was behind her doing the horns up. So it was kind of, I kind of balanced it, for him, so it was kind of fun.
You did, because Dicker looked over and he wanted to get angry at the woman giving him the upside down hook 'em horns. And then he saw Ryan Shazier right there and he had no choice but to kind of give a half a smile at us and let it all go. It was a great time.
Half my family went to UT, so if I'm not cheering for Old State in the Big 12, I'm probably cheering for UT. So
it was a great time overall. Great to catch up with everybody from Wondery, our pals over there. So thanks for a great night at SoFi on Monday Night Football. And stay tuned now for Mo Hasan on Don't Call It a Comeback right after this break.
Don't call it a comeback.
Shek, let's get into this Mo Hasan comeback.
Let's do it, 5-0. Mo Hasan has never been one to back down from a challenge. He walked on as a QB at Syracuse in 2016 before transferring to a JUCO for a better opportunity to play. Then he moved on to Vandy, where he led a victory against a ranked Missouri team in 2019.
Mo Hasan airs one out and caught by Kalijah Lipscomb.
In that game, though, Mo suffered a season-ending concussion. So he left Vandy for USC as a grad transfer, but he went down with another season-ending leg injury in 2020. Mo then started 2021 second on SC's depth chart and even led his team to an opening drive touchdown in the spring game.
Now Hasan lets it go deep left side, looking for Brew McCoy. He's able to fend off the defender and bring in the game's first touchdown.
Later in that first quarter, though, Hasan tore his ACL, ending that season. And after that season, during winter workouts in 2022, he once again suffered a massive injury, a torn Achilles. After college, he headed back to Tennessee to join the Titans rookie camp. And Mo didn't make the active roster, but he's staying connected to the game he loves through his podcast, Momentum. For more on Mo's college story, we've got the man himself here to share the story. Mo Hasan, welcome to Don't Call It a Comeback, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, boys. Excited.
Man, how you doing, Mo? How you doing, man? So I'm really excited to talk to you today. And what we're going to start off with is, man, so you've had a very interesting college career, and it all started off at Syracuse when you walked on. What was it like to show up to camp as a prospective walk-on?
Yeah, that was interesting. As you guys know, recruiting starts so early. So my junior year, I missed a lot of that season. I was still able to get some good tape, but wasn't enough for what I wanted as far as like big D1 offers. And, I had what I thought was a pretty good senior year, but by that time it was too late for the big schools that I knew I could play at. So I had a bunch of FCS offers. I was talking to some Ivy League, some of those like smaller, group of 5 teams. But even then I was like, hey, I know I'm good enough and I want to prove it. So I had 2 teammates that year at Dillard, which Ryan. I think we beat up on y'all pretty good my senior year at Plantation.
Yeah, I wasn't there no more. So
no, I know. But no, as I was saying, I had 2 guys, good friends, go out there. So I wanted to join them, and I was told things by the staff, that, whatever, didn't end up working out. But that's just the politics of college football. And I just kind of kept it moving from there. But
I used to like to joke around. I went to Indiana University and I would tell people, oh yeah, I walked on to the Hoosiers basketball team. Coach Knight really liked my pluck and I made the team and the rest is history. I was just kidding though. Of course, this is everyone's fantasy. Can I walk on at a big time school? What is that? As Shazier asked, what is it? Or do you get pushback from the scholarship guys? Or are they fancy pantses and they look down on you? What is it like to walk in there and say, I want to make the team even though I don't have a scholarship?
Well, I guess it's different for everybody, right? And I mean, there's people who are just in the school and they just pull up to like a tryout or something like that. But like I had like visits with the coach, like the coaches knew like I was talking to other schools and I was willing to like pay some out of pocket, and they were able to like find me money. Like they gave me like academic money. So I mean, I guess in some sense, like I didn't count against the 85 scholarships, but it's I was told I would still have an opportunity to compete, and like it wouldn't be like really any different. So, But I mean, it's different for everybody, right? That was just my experience with it. I was willing to take the risk and bet on myself.
Right. You're not giving me a pipeline to making my ridiculous fantasy a reality at my advanced age.
You can. I think you can play a little receiver.
They let old guys play sometimes. Those are always nice feel-good stories in the college football season. But so you do end up playing at Coffeyville in Kansas. What's it like going from Syracuse to JUCO locker room? What's the vibe and the drop-off, in terms of profile at least?
Totally different. Totally. Like I mean, I grew up in South Florida, like we were talking before. And, Syracuse is a college town. But there's still, a lot of life to it in central New York. I'd never been in like a rural Midwest setting. So that was like completely new for me. Learned a ton, met some awesome people. But like I said, I mean, there's like 2 or 3 stoplights in the entire town, like a few fast food restaurants. Like it's like very, very small. It's Coffeyville, Kansas. If you guys haven't heard of it, southeast, like on the border of Oklahoma. It's one of those when you're going through it, like, it's not the easiest and it's a sacrifice that I made. But afterwards, you look back, you're like, man, that was awesome. Like, met some cool people, like wouldn't have it any other way, for sure. And in terms of like, for sure, drop off in terms of profile, right? Because you're at a junior college, but talent, like you'd be surprised, man. Like I've had some receivers and running backs like at that level who could easily have been my teammates at D1 or even in the league. Just dudes with character issues and stuff like grades, but talent wise, I mean, it's right up there. Like it got me ready for playing high level Division I football.
Isn't Coffeyville? They were showcased on Last Chance U before, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think season 3 and 4 was Independence, which is the town next to us. And I think they offered it to us. We had denied it because our head coach had a bunch of health issues, so he didn't want his stuff being public. But for sure, it would have been cool to have it been like on us. We were on that last episode because we're 2 big rivals, the town next to us, Independence and Coffeyville. So it was cool. Yeah. Yeah.
So I know that you end up sending out an email. Can you tell us a little bit about that email and who you sent it to and what it said?
Yeah. So I had my routine in JUCO. So I had like 30 credits that one semester, which is like double what you would take so that I can graduate early and then enroll into the spring. So I would wake up at 5, I would train, I would knock out my classes. Some of them were online, so I was able to just kind of do it all quick. And then maybe like 2 or 3, I'd have like the rest of the afternoon to literally just sit down and like try to figure this out. Like, where am I going to go to school? And like just send probably over 300-400 emails total. Everyone I could find, just phone calls all day. Like, hey, do you know this coach? Cold calls, cold emails, doing whatever I can to send my film out and get noticed. And in terms of Vanderbilt, so I had a connection there. This coach, his name's Bryce, and I know his dad's a family friend. And I kind of just put the 2 and 2 together. I reached out to him and I was like, hey, like, I wanted to go to a really good academic school. So it was like Stanford and Vanderbilt was like 1 and 2 and like obviously play high level football. And it doesn't get much more high level than the SEC. So I was like, this is perfect. This is what I want. And I wrote like kind of like a tailored email to the head coach at the time, Derek Mason. And I just wanted to show him that I was confident because I was. And so I was like, hey, I know that I can be the best man for this team and lead us to win a championship. And obviously we didn't win a conference championship or anything like that, but like that's always the goal. That's why we work so hard. So I just wanted to show him that I knew I could do it.
It's sort of like the boss at Dunder Mifflin, Michael Scott, once said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And so I think there's a real lesson there that if you want something, you have to go get it. People ain't looking around for you if you're there in Coffeyville, Kansas, right? If you're Vanderbilt or otherwise, a Power 5 conference isn't looking for you. I do love the idea, though, of you, another sitcom reference, Carrie Bradshaw, you out there penning a letter. What special sauce goes into a letter as you write one about why you're the perfect fit? I love, do you modify the letter based on the school that you're writing there?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, right? It's like the art of the cold email in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it applies to any industry, but especially in recruiting, I guess, just like to some extent, I'm not writing a new email to every single coach because I'll take forever. So it's like,
I love country music, Vanderbilt. I love the mountains, Colorado, right? I mean, you have to
Exactly.
modify it a little bit.
You got to throw in a few lines. It's like when you're writing your college essays, like why school X, Y, Z. Like you've got your outline, but then you're gonna change a few little sentences here, tailor it to like obviously like a high academic school like Vanderbilt. Then you're gonna like place a lot of emphasis on this. Like, hey, this is my GPA, this is my SAT. This is why I want to go
Student athlete, frankly, I think it should be athlete student. That's what I mean. Wait, no, student athlete. Right. I like it like that. Right. Yeah, that's
exactly.
That's a good message. So you get your first serious concussion. The nice story gets a little derailed while you're at Vandy. Tell us the circumstances of that and then what comes next.
Yeah, that was hard. That was in the middle of like this 6-year season-ending injury stretch, which sucked, beginning in junior college in Coffeyville. So I only played 4 or 5 games in junior college, but I was still able to have decent tape in that quarter season or whatever. And I had my opportunity to get some playing time that first year at Vanderbilt and got concussed against Ole Miss and worked my ass off to come back, and it just happened again the next year against Missouri. And what sucked is like it wasn't even, like the Tua ones where like he's working on tucking his chin, and like some of them like are neck strength things that you can kind of like work on. Like this was one where I literally just slid and the dude just targeted me. Like there was like really nothing I could have done about it, and like obviously it just sucks. Like I just wanted to, and brain health is no joke, and so like I really took it seriously. It's not like a broken arm or like a broken leg. Like, I hope to have a long career using my brain in the future. So I was out for the rest of the year, and that was brutal. It was awful.
Yeah. So for somebody that's dealing with injury, that's something that I'm very fond with. And I know how stressful and emotionally that can get to you. So what was it like emotionally just dealing with that type of pain? That you were, you can't really catch a break with all the injuries that you've been dealing with.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I wonder if like how you approached it as well. I'd love to pick your brain. But, for me, having been through it a few times, like there's this initial phase of like, man, this sucks. Like I worked my ass off all off season, be on the field. And now like all of that was for nothing. And not only that, but now it's a setback. And so like, how am I going to get it back ever? A, B, can I get back better than I was before? Like there's just all these questions running through your head. And like I had this coach at USC after I tore my knee, and he brought me into his office the day after, and I was obviously down, but he said, like I'll give you 24 hours and do whatever you need to do. But after that, like it's time to get back to work. In whatever way that looks. And it kind of just hit me. I was like, okay, I took that 24 hours and I was sad. And then after that, I was like very methodical about the recovery. And I became a little bit obsessed with plans and planning in terms of like being very precise with exactly what I needed to do to achieve that goal. So with the knee, it was less than 6 months. I knew it had been done before. So there was precedent. It was like the Adrian Petersons, I think it was Aaron Rodgers at Clemson, was like all these like freak stories. So I'm like, okay, like that's where I'll start. It's been done before. How did he do it? And I don't have AP's genes, unfortunately, but I can try to do like some of the things that he was doing. And so, it started in that sense. I'm like, I follow these, what do you call it? Biohackers on like Instagram, like this dude, Ben Greenfield, who's awesome. Like he just does all these crazy techniques on his body and then experiments and then lets his followers know like what works and what doesn't. So I just, again, with the cold emailing or cold messaging, I reached out to him, hopped on the phone. I was like, what's exactly everything I need to do A to Z to achieve this goal of coming back in 6 months? And so that was the beginning of that plan. And it continued through like different conversations with doctors, whoever therapists. But it kind of like, it relieves the anxiety because now you have pen to paper, an actual plan. And so instead of actually, thinking about, man, is this going to work out or not? You're your focus is more geared towards something productive, if that makes sense.
Mo. So, but before we continue to get to this, I heard you say USC. Obviously, I know that, but for everybody that's listening, can you let us know how you end up there? You know, because you, like I said before the pod, you have a very interesting journey. So, can you tell us how you ended up at USC? And then for those who don't know, he also tore his ACL at USC. So, can you let us know a little bit about that and how you end up there too?
Yeah, that one's there's a lot to that, honestly. Okay, so I graduated from Vandy. I do my undergrad there. There was a lot of kind of like internal turmoil going on. Like we didn't have a good year. And I know, if you're listening, you're saying Vandy doesn't have a lot of good years. But every time I say something,
how do you measure this year was even worse than the usual seasons here?
I know. Don't roast me in the comments, but look, as a player, that's not how you think. Like you're like, hey, like we're gonna win every game. Like why else would you train? But yeah, that's how it works. So we didn't have a good year. Our offensive coordinator left. All our best players had declared for the league. I had those 2 season-ending concussions back to back those past 2 years. So part of it was health, to be honest. I'm like, hey, I need to be in a better system with a different coaching staff, with a different offensive line. And I can't keep doing this, basically. Like if I have another bad concussion, then like I don't know what I'm going to do, kind of thing. So like something's got to change, and I want to keep playing football. And that was part of it. Second, I knew that I wanted to get into media after football. So what better place in LA to start developing relationships? That USC network is really useful. And I had a good relationship also with the coaching staff from junior college recruitment, and the head coach at the time was Coach Houghton. So it just kind of all clicked. And they had a good system, offense that I wanted to play in, the air raid with Coach Graham Harrell. So yeah, like all those kind of together. Like it's not really one thing, but.
Quick question about, but a serious moment, obviously, is you're on the cart, I assume, or your knee is messed up there. I always, in that moment, because I'm a great empath, I always feel really bad for the guy because they know in that moment, boy, my knee is messed up, and now I have another 6 months or a year of rehab, and that's gonna suck. Yeah. What is there any? Beyond making the list, which is a fascinating bit of advice there of like what your plan is going to be, pen to paper, as you say, is there a switch to flip that, kind of puts you in the right mindset in that very moment? Like, oh, I got a long road ahead of me here.
I think kind of denial, right? And what's that like psychological thing, like the 7 steps or whatever to tragedy. So yeah, like it happens. I'm on the sideline, and I didn't know I tore my ACL. Like it just felt like a little click. But I heard a pop, but I'm like, my idea of an ACL is like you're on the ground crying in pain or something. Like, I didn't know anything. I'd never had a knee injury or anything, so I'm like, I didn't tear it. There's no way. Like maybe I sprained it or something. And they do the little the test where like they move your leg around, and the guy's like, "Yeah, that's your ACL." I'm like, "Dude, what are you talking about? Like this, I could walk. Like it doesn't feel good, but like I'm fine." And he's like, "No, you're not. Like you're not going back in this game." And I'm like, "All right, whatever. Like I'll ice it, and then we'll get the MRI, and then like it's gonna show that you're wrong, dude.
Yeah,
like
right.
There's no way." Like, bro, what are you talking about? So yeah, I guess like. No, at the time, I'm not thinking about like a plan or anything. Like it was in that initial phase. And the crazy thing is, it was my birthday too. And so like I had just thrown a touchdown. Like I have all this like fun stuff planned for that night. Like I'm, what was I turning, like 21, 22? So I'm like, yo, this is the best day ever. And then it ends up being like the worst day. So it's like the highs and lows obviously suck.
Wait a minute, yeah, this is a terrible story that now we must hear more about. So your birthday, it's your 21st or maybe your 22nd. Either way, you're going to have a wild night with your pals and everything. You don't get to go out that night. You just have to ice it down and sit in your room and be sad.
You could have still went out.
I could have, but I was, dude, I was just so bummed. Like it would have been like polar opposite. Like had a great game up to that point, would have like been partying with all my boys. And it turned out I was alone in my room, literally no one around me that night, like freaking, trying to figure out like what's going to happen. Like, you don't know, like maybe my career's over. Who knows?
So Mo, I want to ask you this because I went through this. So when you was in the room by yourself, did you go through a moment of like depression or like what was your mind like? Because you're like, man, like this is the third year in a row. Like this is the third year in a row. Did you go through a moment of depression? And if you did or didn't, what made you keep pushing forward?
Yeah, I think it quickly turned, I wouldn't use the word depression, but I think it quickly turned from like victim mentality, like despair, like sadness to like, why did this happen to me, to like, how can I turn this around and like prove people wrong? And I'm very goal oriented and I love it. Like a lot of people, if people don't think I could do something, then that kind of gives me a little extra motivation, probably like a lot of people. But it was like, it turned more to that. Like, how can I make this productive, if that makes sense? I was like, I just got the wheels turning very quickly. I don't know why. Maybe it was that conversation with the coach, or for whatever reason, that was just kind of the way my mind worked on that one. I didn't spend a lot of time sad, but I did that night. I will say that.
Are you a pretty positive person? Are you somebody that's like always thinking the glass is always full type of person?
Yeah, I think I am probably irrationally optimistic. But I think that's kind of why I've done a lot of the cool things I have. Like I always think I could do it, even if I don't. And I maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not, but I'll try and I'll give it everything I have. So
I'm not sure that I'm hearing you're a pioneer in media as a college football guy who then starts a podcast. And really, as I say, you're a trailblazer in that regard. But I'm not wrong that you'd love for the phone to ring and have an NFL team, or where are you with that? Your pro QB career. What if the XFL/USFL calls?
Yeah, so I was in camp with the Tennessee Titans, and based off of my time in Nashville, like obviously have a great connection with the city. We've done a lot of charitable work in there. I felt like I have a great connection there. The staff is awesome, but it just didn't work out. And so that's just the reality of the NFL with numbers and everything going on behind the scenes, as you guys know. With that said, like I'm training every day. I'm doing the whole media thing. Like I've been talking to teams semi-consistently throughout this process. It's kind of just it's a waiting game. Like guys are going down. I guess at any time you can get the call in theory. So I want to be ready. Like this is something I worked for my entire life. The last thing I want to do is to get a call tomorrow and just pull up to camp and just be like rusty or something. So I'm doing all that. And then, in terms of XFL, I do think that is an awesome opportunity. And I wonder what's going to happen with that merger. So I'm still trying to learn more. But from what I've seen, and I've been training with a few XFL receivers, they enjoyed their experience. It seems like a lot of guys are getting signed. So for sure, I think definitely it'd be a really good opportunity. I
mean, it's a collision sport. You've obviously been on the wrong end of that more than once. You understand the stakes, but I'm fascinated by that, the so-called, or at least what I would think is a depth chart on an NFL training camp is you're fourth and firmly there because they draft a QB in Levis, do the Titans. They already have the incumbent Tannehill plus Malik Willis. What's the mindset? We always hear about the backup, like he has to be ready to jump in at a moment. If you're the fourth guy, what do you when you're there in August, are you there for the reps? Are you there in case somebody gets hurt and you can slide in there? Are you hoping Ryan Tannehill gets traded somewhere and then you can jump into Tennessee at that point in the NFL season?
It's an interesting question because like as an athlete, like I always pride myself on like being the hardest worker. Like I don't have like you mentioned early on, like having to walk on and all that. Like I feel like it hasn't been the easiest of journeys. Like I wasn't like that 5-star guy who had all the school. So I had to find my niche, and it was like, hey, I'm just going to outwork dudes. Like you're watching this amount of tape. Like I'm just going to spend more time. I'm going to and so like with that, there's never really this, like, I'm going to take a back seat. Like I want to be the best. Like I still want to be the best quarterback. And I know it sounds crazy. I'm not in the NFL right now. I realize
that's the mindset that I don't have. I always wonder what it must be like to compete when I'm behind the 8 ball from day one here.
As a competitor, that's just the way my mind works. And yeah, so, but with that said, I know that Ryan's been in the league for almost a decade. He's an awesome dude, professional. They drafted Will. Like there's realities that exist. And so to answer your question, it would be like work your way up and prove that you are who you say you are. And so I know that in that scenario, I wouldn't be named a starter at a camp. I mean, I didn't even make the team, but it would start in a situation like a practice squad. And then, Brock was running practice squad all last year, became the starter, and if he didn't get hurt, could have easily won Super Bowl. So, it's you work your way up, that kind of thing. You get your foot in the door.
Yeah, football is just all about opportunity. You just have to, when the opportunity comes, you have to be ready for the moment. Some guys aren't ready for the moment, and Mo's trying to stay consistently ready for that moment when it comes. So, Mo, in college, you were one of the first guys to do podcasts, especially with the NIL and everything going on. What made you guys want to start a podcast, and what was it like being a pioneer for student athletes?
Honestly, it's just fun. Like my friends make fun of me because every time I'm in the car, like I'll throw in a podcast instead of like putting on music, and they'll call me lame or whatever. But I really like that element of just the boys hanging out. And I have like different podcasts for everything. Like there's like comedy ones, news, politics, whatever. But some of my favorite ones are like comedians or just boys kicking it. Like what's better? Like it's like the locker room. That's always the number one thing. You talk to a guy who's done playing that you miss, like the bus rides, the locker room. And so it's like, what if you recreate that on camera, which isn't easy. But what if you try to do that? And some pods do a good job of that. And I try to, at least. And it seemed like at the time when I was in college, there wasn't anything like that from a college football perspective. There were a few NFL, but this is and there are a ton now. But at the time, there wasn't a ton. It was like the Bussin' with the Boys guys in Nashville was like kind of that first element. And getting to know them in Nashville was a big part of me thinking I could do this. And that was essentially the idea. What if like me and my teammates just recreated the locker room feel and just chopped it up?
I love it. And by the way, Lawan was a guest on this show. It's about time we get him back on in front of the Ohio State game. Don't you think, Shazier? So he can tell you what's going to happen this year. Hey, by the way, spoiler alert, same thing that happened last year.
No, you're a hater, man. You're a hater. But
I'm not a hater at all. I'm telling you what the reality is. Accept it already. Now, Mo.
It's going to be a good game.
It will be a good game. And I think we, as I already said, know the result, don't we, Mo? Now, let's talk about USC a little bit, where you were matriculating. We're talking about there. Can Caleb Williams, after that loss, the 3 picks and otherwise at Notre Dame, can he come back and get himself into this Heisman race? Or is it a fait accompli for Michael Penix, Drake May? Where are you looking?
I think so. I hope so, as a USC fan. The thing is, like, the rest of the schedule is a gauntlet. Like I think almost every team is ranked. I don't know if UCLA is anymore. I know Cal is not. But either way, it's like for all those, SEC, East Coasters talking trash about the Pac, like this year is really, really competitive, especially at the quarterback position, like you said, with Penix and Bo Nix, and I don't know if Cam Rising's going to come back, but we'll see. I hope so. I mean, defense got to step up. It's it's not going to fly if you're giving up an average of 40 points, 45 points. Caleb can only do so much. Obviously, he didn't play a good game against Notre Dame, and he'll get that fixed. He's Caleb. But with that said, I think that if you win out, how can you not give him the Heisman Trophy? Like that SC.
Hey, let me ask you both this. Let me just analyst thing. You're a football podcaster now, QB expert, and Shazier, I want your answer on this too. Was that 3-pick game enough to make Drake May the number 1, or can Caleb Williams at least come back and reclaim the number 1 overall slot that he was assigned, last year?
I don't think he's losing the number 1 spot up for that. But no. I think that Kyle McCord is going to win the Heisman off of it, though.
Hell no, he's not even top 10. Settle down. No, I think Penix is number one. Like if they did the voting today, I think he wins for sure. His numbers.
I think it's Penix, but I like your pronunciation.
Did I say that completely wrong?
Yeah, it's Penix.
Yours is jazzier.
Hey,
Mr. Penix.
Either way, it's a dog.
Yes, that's right.
No,
yeah.
I think I would go him number one. But SC plays UW, I believe, in 2 weeks or soon. And I mean that's kind of like whoever outplays each other. I see it that way, like head to head.
I think me personally, I think Caleb Williams is the best player in college football. I just don't think he's gonna win the Heisman this year. I just don't.
So it will remain Archie Griffin, one of one, the only man to ever go back to back and win the Heisman
I think his defense is gonna cause him not to win the Heisman. Because and I know that sounds crazy, but Heisman, especially when you win in 2 years in a row, they want your team to be dominant in that second year, if you win the Heisman. That's why Johnny Manziel didn't win it, and his stats were better. That's why, no, not his stats were better, but Lamar Jackson's stats were better, and he didn't win it, so it was multiple players whose stats were ended up being a little bit better than the year they won the Heisman and didn't win it. So I just don't see, I think Caleb is going to have good stats, but I think his defense is going to put him in positions where he's going to make mistakes like he did versus Notre Dame, and then the teams are starting to get better. Like at the beginning of the season, he wasn't really playing anybody. They played Colorado, which is they're a good team, but they're not ready yet. Then their first real opponent was Notre Dame. So now they're gonna have to actually play real football, and with that defense giving up a lot of points, now Caleb has is going to have to start forcing things. And as a quarterback, Mo, when you have to force a pass compared to the pass that you want to take, it makes it a little bit harder to play the way you want to play.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Team success is going to play a huge impact, but I think if you're able to overcome defensive woes and put up 50 and your defense gives up 45, then as a Heisman voter, I'm saying like, hey, they're winning in spite of that defense. Like that's how special Caleb is. So there's still an avenue towards, it's not impossible. I do think that you can't lose more than 2 games there. Like you got to be at least 10-2 going in the conference championship.
I think if you're SC and Caleb Williams, that's right. The standard is lower if you're Drake May based on expectations for the team coming into the season. And as you said, Mo, USC and those Pac-12 teams are about to start really cannibalizing each other over the next month or so. No one's going to come through clean, I wouldn't expect. Watch out for Drake May, in other words, is my dark horse.
You really like Drake May, huh?
I mean, he's having a clean season, and as I say, he doesn't have to go undefeated to have a special season that will stand out individually based on what you expect Chapel Hill to deliver. If they lose a couple of games, that's not the end of the world for the best player on that team because he's made them relevant is the perception, I think. Mo, in the meantime, this show's all about comebacks. We're fascinated with the one you've already pulled off and can't wait to see where you go. Maybe you're going to split your time, two-sport athlete, sports podcasting, and QBing in pro football. We'd love to see both of those things happening. What comeback story do you think we should take a look at for a future episode here of Don't Call It a Comeback? Which, by the way, when you're in the car and your friends are making fun, put on Don't Call It a Comeback.
Of course. Are you asking about like different athletes?
It could be anybody, really. Well, the game of life is the most important sport of them all, after all, Mo. Anyone you think we need to take a look at?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. I would have to think of some guys you don't know. Everyone knows about Alex Smith. Like that was one guy that really inspired me. I got hit before I tore my knee. I got hit in my shin, and it's called compartment syndrome. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's like you have to have an emergency surgery. It's like this freak accident. Like a few guys in the league have had it. And essentially, if you don't operate soon enough, then they have to amputate your leg. And it's crazy painful. And I had to have like 2 surgeries for it. Like the recovery is honestly not that bad. It sounds worse than it is. It's more of like having the surgery in a timely manner. But Alex was one of those guys like sitting in that hospital bed for like 2-3 nights. And you look at guys who have done it. That's why I love being an inspiration. Like I post a lot of like knee recovery, Achilles recovery stuff on my Instagram. because there were guys who have done it in the past, and I knew it could be done. And Alex, having had as many surgeries as he had in his knee, was an inspiration for me. So, and I'm sure you are, Ryan, for thousands, if not more, around this around the world. So,
certainly, and you ain't a slouch yourself in that regard, and the charitable work you did in Nashville, and beyond. Really, every stop you've made, you've done it. Keep that up. Great work on you. Great work with the podcasting. Good luck with the football going forward. And thanks so much for the time today, Mo.
Yeah, thank you guys. That was fun. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Mo, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate you. And when the Heisman ceremony come up and Kyle has the trophy, I want you both to come back and say sorry to me. So,
hey, we'll make a bet because there's no way that's gonna happen.
How about,
no, you have a solemn promise. I will apologize publicly
Mo,
when Kyle McCord wins the 2023 Heisman Trophy.
You gotta wear it.
We can make a bet.
You gotta wear a USC jersey.
What's the bet? Caleb Williams versus the field. I'm taking the field. I like that.
Yeah, sure.
What did you just turn this into? The field now.
No, but
oh no, you said you got Kyle.
So if neither one of them win, we're good.
Then I win.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, yeah.
I got Drake May.
All right, cool. There we go. All right, well, man, appreciate you, Mo.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And next up for us, have Coach Prime in Colorado already lost the momentum they built during that 3-0 spectacular start?
Don't call it a comeback.
Time for some other comeback stories in the news we need to give a look at this week. This is the Checkdown. Shazier and I are going to give each other one comeback story from the news this week. 30 seconds on the clock to break it down. 5-0. Are you ready?
Let's get it.
The Buffaloes of Colorado blew a 29-0 halftime lead to Stanford. Has the momentum Coach Prime and the Buffs built with their hot start been wasted after the Cardinals' comeback?
I like how you said momentum, Man, I
did it again. That's a throw out to our guest, see? Keep promoting that show for us.
I don't think it was they lost all their momentum. I think it was more of a situation where they kind of did what USC did to Colorado. It was like, hey, we jumped out on them. We're better than this team, and kind of thought everything was going to be cool. Stanford's one of them hard-nosed teams that's going to fight for every blade of grass, every moment of the game, and they end up seeing it. But I think this is a situation where Coach Prime and his team are really noticing, hey, guys aren't going to give up. They're going to play us tough all the way through, and they don't care who we got. So I think this was a game that Colorado needed so that they can see, hey, I understand the Pac-12 isn't that great, and I understand this team might be worth playing.
Apparently he's ignoring the beeping sound. Are you, you're lawless now, Shazier? The beep went 15 seconds ago, man.
Hey, I'm just taking a page from your book. Take a page from your book.
All right. Now it's my turn. I'll show you how it's done.
Zach Wilson has led the Jets to win over the Eagles. Yes, the Eagles, but the news cycle for this week has been more focused on Aaron Rodgers is going to be healthy. Shek, is Zach Wilson comeback season going to be totally overshadowed by Mr. Aaron?
Will it be? It already has been. Now, going forward, I do think that this is an under-the-radar, feel-good story. I think that when Aaron Rodgers, after a summer's worth, actually 10 summers worth of stories about how Rodgers was going to be the difference maker for the sad New York Jets franchise, he rips his Achilles 2 seconds into the season, and people kind of moved on from the Jets. But in the meantime, I remember saying on this show to you, Shazier, that the assumption that just because Aaron Rodgers is now on the Jets, that they weren't with the rugged 6-game open that they had to the season, didn't guarantee that they were going to be any better than 2-4. Well, without Aaron Rodgers, they're 3-3. This is a great story. I was skeptical of what Bob Saleh and company might do without Rodgers. There they are. They're playoff relevant right now, and I think people are, if they can put 1 or 3 more wins together, people are going to start buying the chances of a defense first and second and third team really having a shot at getting into the postseason in the AFC.
He started the clock 20 seconds late, and then you still were over the 30 seconds.
I still haven't heard the beep. That's it. I told you, I'm the wizard.
He keep pausing it. He keep pausing it for you because you take so long. But hey, I love the take.
Thank you. Thank you. That's all that matters to me. You know what? That's it for this episode of Don't Call a Comeback. Why fix what ain't broke?
Make sure to follow, rate, and review us on wherever you're listening. Check us out on YouTube on the Wondery channel, and make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. See you all next week.
I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.